I stared at my phone in disbelief as her name appeared on my screen after 2 years of silence. Sophia, my wife, who had abandoned our 6-year marriage without a backward glance, was suddenly reaching out. The message was brief but devastating. Alexander had died, and she wanted to come back. My mind flashed back to the day I discovered their affair, how my colleague had stolen not just my wife, but the future we had planned together. Now she thought she could simply return, as if the pain she caused could be erased with a text message. Little did she know how much had changed since she disappeared into Alexander's wealthy embrace. Before I share how my world was shattered and rebuilt, let me know where you are watching from in the comments below. Hit subscribe if you want more stories about finding strength when someone who broke you tries to return. Sophia and I met during our junior year at Boston University. I was studying architectural engineering while she pursued art history. Our paths crossed at a gallery opening hosted by a mutual friend. I remember being captivated by her passionate explanation of an abstract painting that had left me confused. Her dark hair fell in perfect waves around her shoulders as she laughed at my practical interpretation of the artwork. By the end of the night, I had her number and a date planned for the following weekend. Our romance progressed quickly after that. We moved in together our senior year, and I proposed on graduation day. At 23, we were young, but certain about our future together. The wedding was small but beautiful, held in her parents' garden with close family and friends. Those first years were everything I had hoped for in a marriage. We supported each other through entry-level jobs, celebrated small victories, and planned our future with excitement. By the time I turned 28, my career at Meridian Architectural Group was taking off. I specialized in sustainable commercial buildings, and my designs had caught the attention of several prominent clients. Sophia had secured a position at a respected gallery downtown curating contemporary exhibits. We finally had enough saved for a down payment on a modest but charming colonial-style home in a good neighborhood. Everything seemed to be falling into place. Our discussions about starting a family became more serious. We converted the small bedroom upstairs into a home office, but both acknowledged it would make a perfect nursery someday soon. Sophia began taking prenatal vitamins. I started putting extra money aside each month. The future stretched before us, full of promise. The first changes were subtle. Sophia began buying new clothes more expensive than our usual budget allowed. Her hair appointments became more frequent, and she started wearing makeup even on weekends when we normally lounged around the house. I thought she might be trying to impress new gallery donors or preparing for a promotion. The downtown development project came at exactly the wrong time, though I could not have known it then. Meridian assigned me as lead architect on a mixed-use building that would transform an entire city block. The client, Blackwood Enterprises, was the largest developer in New England, and this project would put my name on the map. The hours were brutal, but the opportunity was too significant to pass up. Alexander Blackwood himself attended our initial meetings. Tall, confident, and intimidatingly wealthy. At 45, he had a reputation for being demanding but fair. He seemed impressed with my innovative approach to the project and requested I be his primary contact at Meridian. My boss was thrilled, seeing this as a chance to secure Blackwood as a permanent client. I started bringing work home, spreading blueprints across our dining room table late into the night. Sophia showed unexpected interest in these sessions, asking questions about the project and offering to bring me coffee as I worked. At the time, I was touched by her support. I did not realize she was fishing for information about Alexander. Their paths crossed officially at the project launch party. I introduced them proudly, noticing how Alexander kissed her hand instead of shaking it. Sophia wore a new black dress I had never seen before, one that caught the attention of everyone in the room. I remember feeling a mixture of pride and unease as they chatted animatedly about European architecture, a conversation I could not fully participate in. After that night, Sophia began mentioning Alexander casually in conversation. Did I know he had a villa in Tuscany? Had I heard he collected rare first-edition books? Was I aware his family owned a private island? Each comment made me increasingly uncomfortable, though I tried to dismiss my concerns as paranoia. The business trip to Chicago was scheduled for 3 days. I was presenting our design concepts to Blackwood's Midwest division. On the second day, the remaining meetings were unexpectedly canceled when the regional director fell ill. I decided to surprise Sophia by coming home early, picking up her favorite takeout on the way. The house was quiet when I arrived, but her car was in the driveway. I called out but received no answer. Moving upstairs, I noticed her tablet on the bedside table, its screen lighting up with an incoming message. I had never been the type to check her devices, but something about the repeated notifications drew my attention. The message preview showed only Alexander's name and the words, "Can't wait to see you again." My stomach dropped as I unlocked the tablet, knowing her password from the countless times I had seen her enter it. What I found destroyed everything I thought I knew about our marriage. Hundreds of messages spanning 6 months revealed an affair that had begun shortly after the project launch. Hotel receipts, intimate photos, plans for their rendezvous when they knew I would be working late. The most recent messages discussed a trip to Italy the following month. Sophia had replied that she was working on an exit strategy from our marriage. I sat on our bed for hours, scrolling through evidence of their betrayal. When Sophia finally returned home, I was still there, surrounded by screenshots I had printed from her tablet. Her expression shifted from shock to cold detachment as she realized what I had discovered. "Were you ever going to tell me?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Eventually, she replied with a calmness that cut deeper than anger would have. "Alexander can give me things you never could, Gordon. Not just material things, though those matter too. He understands my world in ways you never tried to." I pleaded for marriage counseling, for a chance to save what we had built together. 6 years, Sophia. Does that mean nothing to you? Her response haunts me still. 6 years of settling, Gordon. I want more than this house. More than weekend trips to nearby beaches. More than waiting for you to finally make partner, so we can start living. The week that followed was a bizarre performance. Sophia continued her normal routine while I fell apart, calling in sick to work and barely eating. I begged, reasoned, and finally demanded she end the affair. She agreed to think about what she wanted, which gave me false hope. One Tuesday, I returned from a meeting with my boss, who had insisted I return to work, to find half our belongings gone. Her closet emptied, family photos removed from walls, and most of our wedding gifts missing. On the kitchen counter sat divorce papers with a handwritten note. "Alexander offered me the world. I'm taking it." That night, my colleague Ryan called to tell me he had seen Sophia and Alexander boarding a private jet at Logan Airport. His tone was apologetic, but the gossip had already spread through the firm. The husband whose wife ran off with their biggest client. The man who was not enough to keep her happy. The first month after Sophia left was a blur of legal meetings and sleepless nights. The divorce proceedings moved quickly, as she had prepared everything in advance. She wanted nothing from me beyond what she had already taken, which my lawyer described as unusually generous, but I recognized as indifference. Our house, the home we had lovingly chosen together, became an emotional minefield. Every room held memories I could no longer face. I took a temporary leave from Meridian, unable to continue working on Alexander's project. My boss was surprisingly understanding, reassigning me to smaller local projects when I returned. The downtown development continued without me. My design still being used, but my name gradually fading from association with it. Explaining the situation to friends and family was humiliating. My parents, who had adored Sophia, struggled to comprehend her actions. Friends awkwardly avoided mentioning her name, creating uncomfortable silences during conversations. Some mutual acquaintances slowly stopped contacting me, altogether choosing sides without saying so directly. Financial reality hit hard after the emotional shock began to subside. The legal fees had depleted my savings, and the house was too expensive for me to maintain alone. After 3 months of draining my accounts to keep up with the mortgage, I finally listed it for sale. The real estate market was fortunately strong, and it sold within weeks. I moved to a small one-bedroom apartment in Cambridge, away from our old neighborhood and the memories it contained. The first session with my therapist, Dr. Winters, was spent mostly in silence, interrupted by occasional bursts of anger or grief. Betrayal trauma, she called it, explaining how Sophia's actions had shattered not just my heart, but my entire understanding of reality. Each week I gradually revealed more details, processing the pain in small, manageable pieces. Create new routines, Dr. Winters suggested after our 4th session. Reclaim your life one habit at a time. I started small. Morning runs along the Charles River. Coffee at a neighborhood cafe, instead of brewing it at home as Sophia and I had done. Weekly cooking classes where I learned to prepare meals for one, without feeling pathetic about it. Each new routine was a tiny victory, a step away from the life that had been stolen from me. The apartment became my canvas for healing. I tore out the dated cabinets and installed new ones, refinished the hardwood floors and painted every wall. The physical labor provided an outlet for my anger, while the results gave me a sense of accomplishment. This space was entirely mine, untouched by betrayal. Old friendships I had neglected during my marriage gradually rekindled. James, my college roommate, started inviting me to his family dinners every Sunday. Diana, a high school friend who had moved to Boston for work, began texting regularly to check on me. These connections provided crucial support when social media inevitably showed me glimpses of Sophia's new life. The photos appeared 6 months after she left Sophia on a yacht in the Mediterranean at a gala in Milan, lounging by a private pool with the Tuscan countryside spreading beyond. Alexander always beside her, his arm possessively around her waist, both of them tanned and smiling. Each image was a carefully crafted message about the amazing life I could not provide. After torturing myself with these pictures for weeks, I finally blocked both their accounts and deleted all social media apps from my phone. Dr. Winters approved of this decision during our next session. Focus on your reality, not the curated version of theirs. Meridian surprised me with a promotion to senior designer after I successfully completed 3 commercial projects ahead of schedule. The irony was not lost on me that professional recognition came after personal devastation. I threw myself into work, finding purpose in creating spaces that would outlast relationships. My colleagues gradually stopped whispering when I entered rooms, and new employees never knew my history with Blackwood Enterprises. Community involvement became another lifeline. I volunteered with a nonprofit that taught architectural basics to underprivileged high school students. Mentoring these teenagers, helping them see possibilities they had never imagined, gave me perspective on my own situation. Their problems often made mine seem manageable by comparison. When Boston University reached out seeking part-time instructors for their evening architectural program, I applied without expecting much. To my surprise, they hired me to teach an introductory design course on Tuesday and Thursday evenings. Standing before a classroom of eager students forced me to articulate principles I had long taken for granted, deepening my own understanding of my craft. That was where I met Rachel. She taught engineering physics in the adjacent classroom, and we often arrived and departed at the same time. Our first conversations were simple professional courtesy, comparing notes on teaching methods and student engagement. She had a practical, straightforward approach that I found refreshing after Sophia's dramatic tendencies. "Your students actually look interested," she commented one evening, after observing the animated discussions in my classroom. "Most of mine look like they are contemplating a career change to anything, without equations." I bribed them with real-world applications and occasional pizza, I admitted, making her laugh. Our friendship developed gradually over coffee after classes, discussing everything from teaching challenges to Boston's infamous traffic. Rachel was divorced as well, though her experience had been more amicable than mine. She never pushed for details about my failed marriage, allowing me to share information at my own pace. 18 months after Sophia's departure, I realized I had gone an entire day without thinking about her. This small miracle marked a turning point in my recovery. I was no longer defined by what I had lost, but by what I was building. My apartment renovation was complete. My career was thriving, and my social circle had expanded beyond what it had been during my marriage. Dating again seemed like the final frontier of healing, a step I approached with extreme caution. A few awkward dinner dates arranged by well-meaning friends confirmed I was not ready for random setups. Instead, my relationship with Rachel evolved organically from friendship to something more. Our first official date was to a local architecture exhibition, familiar territory, that helped ease my anxiety. I have trust issues, I warned her directly, as we shared dessert afterward. I figured she replied with a gentle smile. We can go as slowly as you need. Rachel's patience and understanding allowed our relationship to develop without pressure. She never compared herself to Sophia or tried to erase my past. Instead, she helped me see how that chapter had shaped, but not defined me. For the first time since the divorce, I could envision a future with someone new. By the 2-year anniversary of Sophia's departure, I had established a comfortable routine. Teaching 2 evenings a week, managing multiple design projects at Meridian weekend hikes with Rachel and her golden retriever, Scout. My life had found a balance I had never achieved during my marriage, a realization that sometimes surprised me with its clarity. Then came the text message that threatened to disrupt everything. The notification appeared while Rachel and I were having dinner at my apartment. A simple chime that would have normally been ignored except I glimpsed the name on my screen. Sophia. After 2 years of complete silence, my hand froze, mid-air, fork suspended between plate and mouth. Rachel noticed immediately. Gordon, is everything okay? I placed the fork down slowly, picking up my phone to read the full message. Alexander died yesterday. Heart attack. I need to talk to you. Please. The room seemed to tilt slightly past and present, colliding in a disorienting blur. Rachel watched me with concern as I placed the phone face down on the table. My ex-wife just texted me. I explained, my voice sounding distant, even to my own ears. Her partner apparently died yesterday. Rachel reached across the table to squeeze my hand. That is a lot to process. How are you feeling? The question made me realize I did not know. Shock, certainly. A confusing absence of satisfaction at Alexander's demise. Anger that Sophia would contact me now after everything. But underneath it all, a disturbing flutter of something I refused to acknowledge. More messages followed throughout the evening. Sophia, explaining that Alexander had collapsed during a business dinner in Rome, that his family was contesting his will, that she needed someone to talk to who understood her. Each text more desperate than the last, culminating in, I made a terrible mistake leaving you. I see that now. Rachel stayed over that night, holding me as I stared at the ceiling. You do not owe her a response, she reminded me, or a meeting, or anything at all. The next morning I called Dr. Winters and scheduled an emergency session. She listened calmly as I explained the situation, then asked the question I had been avoiding. What do you want to do, Gordon? Part of me wants to ignore her completely, I admitted, but another part needs closure. To see her and feel nothing would be confirmation that I have truly moved on. Dr. Winters nodded thoughtfully. Just be careful about her intentions. People in desperate situations often return to what feels safe and familiar. After careful consideration, I agreed to meet Sophia at a coffee shop downtown, a public place where our conversation would necessarily remain controlled. I told Rachel about my decision, appreciating her supportive response, despite the obvious concern in her eyes. Do you want me to come with you? She offered. No, I decided. This is something I need to handle alone, but thank you for understanding. The coffee shop was busy when I arrived, which provided some comfort. I chose a table near the window, ordering a black coffee, and watching the door with an anxiety I had not anticipated. When Sophia finally walked in, the contrast between memory and reality was jarring. She was still beautiful. Her dark hair now cut in a sophisticated bob, her clothes obviously expensive. But stress had left its mark in the tightness around her eyes and mouth. She spotted me immediately crossing the room with the confident stride I remembered. Gordon, she said, her voice wavering slightly, as she sat down across from me. Thank you for coming. I nodded, not trusting myself to speak immediately. Up close, the strain was more evident, fine lines that had not been there 2 years ago, mapping the corners of her eyes. I am so sorry about Alexander, I finally offered, surprising myself with the sincerity in my words. That must have been incredibly traumatic. Tears filled her eyes immediately. It was horrible. 1 minute we were having dinner with clients, the next he was on the floor. The paramedics tried for 20 minutes, but she trailed off, dabbing carefully at her eyes with a tissue. Why did you contact me, Sophia? I asked, directly, unwilling to be drawn into her grief when she had shown so little concern for mine. She composed herself with visible effort. Because I made the biggest mistake of my life when I left you. I see that now, Gordon. Alexander was not who I thought he was. Over the next hour, Sophia revealed the reality behind the glamorous social media facade. Alexander had been controlling, monitoring her spending and activities. There had been other women throughout their relationship which she discovered only after moving to Italy. His temper had frightened her on multiple occasions, and most recently she had been planning to leave him when he died unexpectedly. His family never accepted me, she continued. Now they are claiming our relationship was temporary, that he never intended to change his will to include me. They have already asked me to vacate the villa. Something in her tone triggered a warning in my mind. What exactly are you hoping for from me, Sophia? Her expression shifted subtly. Vulnerability replaced by calculation. A chance to talk, to reconnect. We were good together. Once we're not we. Before you cheated on me with my colleague and abandoned our marriage. The words came out harsher than intended, but I did not regret them. I made a terrible mistake, she repeated, reaching across the table to touch my hand. I pulled back instinctively. I was seduced by the lifestyle, not the man. It was all so empty, Gordon. Not like what we had. As she continued talking, I recognized the familiar patterns that had once charmed me. The way she tilted her head when asking questions. The practiced vulnerability in her expressions. The subtle flattery woven into every other sentence. Techniques that had once seemed genuine, but now appeared manipulative in their transparency. Where are you staying now? I asked, interrupting her, reminiscing about our honeymoon. The question seemed to catch her off guard. A hotel downtown. Just temporarily, until I figure things out. And financially, how are you managing? Her hesitation told me everything. That is, complicated. Alexander's accounts have been frozen during the estate settlement. My name was not on most of them. The realization hit with perfect clarity. Sophia was not back because she missed me, or regretted her choices. She needed a safe harbor in a financial storm. The apartment she had once deemed too small, the lifestyle she had found insufficient, now represented security she had lost. I have changed, she insisted, perhaps sensing my growing detachment. This experience has shown me what really matters. I have changed too, I replied calmly. And I am seeing someone now, someone I care about very much. The news visibly shocked her. Oh, I did not realize. Is it serious? Yes, it is. Frustration flickered across her face. But we have history, Gordon. 6 years of marriage. That connection does not just disappear. It did for you, I reminded her. The day you left with Alexander. Her demeanor shifted again, desperation replacing the calculated charm. I made one mistake. Are you really going to punish me forever for that? This is not about punishment, Sophia. It is about choices and consequences. You chose to leave. I chose to rebuild my life without you. Those choices cannot be undone just because your situation has changed. So that is it. Her voice rose slightly, drawing glances from nearby tables. After everything we shared, you will not even consider giving us another chance. I took a deep breath, centering myself. There is no us anymore, Sophia. There has not been for 2 years. Her expression hardened, the vulnerable mask slipping completely. You know, I could make things difficult for you at Meridian. I still have connections there. The threat confirmed every instinct I had about her true intentions. Reaching into my pocket, I placed my phone on the table screen, illuminated to show the active recording. I would reconsider that approach, I said quietly. Massachusetts is a 2-party consent state for recordings, and I began this recording after asking if you minded while you were in the restroom. You agreed. The lie was necessary protection against whatever she might claim later. Her eyes widened with realization and humiliation. You recorded our conversation. You did not trust me even for a coffee. No, I answered honestly. I did not. And that tells us both everything we need to know about any potential reconciliation. Sophia grabbed her purse and stood abruptly. "You have become cold, Gordon. This is not the man I married." "You are right about that," I agreed. "And for that I should probably thank you." I watched her storm out of the coffee shop, her perfect posture, betraying no hint of the rejection she had just experienced. Only after she disappeared from view did I realize my hands were shaking. "Are you okay?" Rachel asked when I returned to her apartment that evening. Scout, her golden retriever, greeted me with enthusiastic tail wagging, sensing my need for uncomplicated affection. "Better than I expected," I replied, sinking onto her comfortable sofa. It was enlightening, actually. I recounted the conversation to Rachel, who listened without interrupting. When I finished, she simply asked, "How do you feel about it all?" Relieved, I realized aloud. Seeing her again confirmed that I have moved on completely. There was no lingering attachment, no what-ifs. Just clarity that the life I have now is far better than anything I lost. The contrast between Sophia and Rachel could not have been more striking. Where Sophia calculated and manipulated, Rachel offered honest support. Where Sophia had seen me as a stepping stone to something better, Rachel valued our relationship for exactly what it was. The woman I had once believed was my soulmate now seemed like a stranger compared to the genuine connection I had found. "She might try again," Rachel cautioned. "People who feel entitled to others often do not give up easily." Her prediction proved accurate. Over the next several weeks, Sophia alternated between emotional appeals and veiled threats, texts, emails, even a handwritten letter delivered to my office. Each attempt reinforced my decision to maintain distance. After consulting with a lawyer, I sent a formal cease and desist letter that finally silenced her communications. 6 months after Sophia's unexpected return, Meridian offered me a partnership position. The downtown project that Alexander had commissioned, now completed under another developer after Blackwood Enterprises restructured following his death, had won several prestigious awards. My original designs had been instrumental in its success, bringing significant positive attention to the firm. Rachel supported me through the increased responsibilities and longer hours, understanding the importance of this professional milestone. Our relationship deepened through the shared challenges, building a foundation of mutual respect and genuine affection that my marriage had always lacked. When my lease expired the following spring, we decided to take the next step. Not simply moving in together into one of our existing places, but finding a new home that would be truly ours. We spent weekends visiting open houses, discussing preferences and possibilities, with an excitement that felt both familiar and entirely new. The house we eventually chose was nothing like the colonial I had shared with Sophia. This was a contemporary design with walls of windows overlooking a small wooded area, clean lines, and open spaces that reflected both our personalities. Rachel converted one bedroom into a home office where she could grade papers and prepare lectures. I claimed a sunroom as my drawing space, filling it with drafting tables and architectural models. "Do you ever miss your old life?" Rachel asked one evening, as we unpacked books in our new living room. The question was asked without jealousy, simply honest curiosity. I considered it carefully before answering. "I miss the certainty I once had, the belief that my life would follow a predictable path. But that certainty was based on illusions about my marriage that were never real." "And now," she prompted. "Now I prefer this authentic happiness, even with its uncertainties, to the false security I had before." The wisdom I gained from Sophia's betrayal and attempted return fundamentally changed my approach to relationships. I learned that people often return when they need something, not when you need them. That forgiveness does not require reconciliation. That sometimes losing someone is actually being saved from them. Most importantly, I discovered that self-respect must be the foundation of any healthy relationship. Walking away from Sophia's second chance was not about punishing her, but about honoring the growth and healing I had fought so hard to achieve. The man who had once begged her to stay was gone, replaced by someone stronger and more discerning. Our housewarming party brought together friends, old and new, family members and colleagues. As I watched Rachel laughing with my parents, Scout circling hopefully around the food table, I felt a contentment that had nothing to do with proving anything to my ex-wife. This life I had built from the ashes of betrayal was valuable, not in comparison to what I had lost, but entirely on its own merits. Have you ever had someone try to come back into your life after betraying your trust? Share your experience in the comments below. I am curious how many of you chose reconciliation versus maintaining boundaries. Do not forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel if you want more stories about rebuilding after betrayal. Remember that sometimes the people who walk away are making space for the right people to walk in. Thank you for listening to my story, and I hope it helps someone facing a similar crossroad in their own life.